Peace. You are tuned into Edible Activists with your host and favorite edible activist, Melissa L. Jones. On this show, we honor Black people and their stories in food and agriculture, celebrating legacy, traditions, contributions, and creativity that all stem from the land. So tune in and let's get started. Peace, y'all. This is your host and favorite edible activist, Melissa L. Jones. Today's guest is Bianca, affectionately known as Umi, who is a mother of three, a community herbalist, and returning generation farmer, carrying forward her family's legacy by breathing new life into the land her great-grandparents purchased back in the 1950s. A graduate of North Carolina A&T State University, she is the founder of the Seed of Life Farm in Bertie County, North Carolina. She grows medicinal herbs and cut flowers and creates intentional spaces for agricultural education and mindfulness practice across rural communities. Rooted in ancestral land and legacy, Umi is committed to nurturing generational healing and deeper connections to the earth. Welcome to the show, Umi.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
I am excited as always. It's my favorite thing to say because I love talking to people. And Umi, I'm elated that you obliged to my request to be on the show. I saw a remarkable clip of you talking about your history and honoring, your lineage and being able to steward this land that I know is still in the beginning phase for you as you learn, but it was so heartwarming. And I'm super excited and honored to have you share your experience and your journey here on Edible Activists. So thank you again. And we love a really great origin story all the time. It's mostly how we kick off our show. And you've been reclaiming and revitalizing 7 acres of ancestral land that your grandparents purchased in the 1950s. And so many questions, obviously, but I'm going to kick off like what does it mean to steward this land now, and how does their legacy guide your vision for the Seed of Life Farm?
Yes, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'm glad that that story touched you. It touched me so much, and it's funny because I've been, rallying family and friends. I'm gonna get back on the family land. I'm gonna do this. Let's do it together. And everybody just kind of like, yeah, cool. We'll see. And it's like people didn't really put two and two together until like that clip that you said on Instagram reel, pictures of my grandparents telling the story. And then it's like that's when it started to connect, for my generation. And even like my mom and my aunts, they just started to connect. They're like, okay, this is our family land. This is our legacy. It's so important to me because my great grandfather, that was his pride and joy, that land. Like he spent all his life trying to get that land. And then it's like when he passed, we were just looking around at who was going to continue the legacy, and nobody was interested. And I don't blame them that they don't see the value in it, because if I had to wake up and work the land before school and after school and all summer break, maybe I wouldn't be interested either. But it's just all about timing. It's all about timing, because in 2020, when I started to piddle around in the garden some, I said, hey, this is my opportunity to, get back to the family land and continue that legacy that's so important. Like my grandfather, being raised out there, eating farm to table, I didn't even appreciate or even know how good I had it. We be out there shucking peas and cleaning collars and just sitting around the table. And it's just such fond memories of being on the land. I never had a negative connotation with it. So I'm just really excited to get it back going for sure.
I love that. I resonate with the telling your family, I'm gonna buy this land and we're gonna do some things. I joke all the time and sort of kind of not joking with my Mississippi family saying, I'm gonna get some land down in the country and I'm gonna build this great big compound. And everyone's just like, oh, no, 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 no. And I'm like, I'm serious. And so I kind of envy you that you get to do that because not only stewarding the land, but being in a place where you have immediate access to your relatives is such a beautiful thing. And, not, I would love for folks. I was actually just having a conversation with some friends a few days ago to like get back to that. So it's getting back to the basics, but getting back to having your neighbors around the corner. And I know you grew up in North Carolina, is just something that you're accustomed to. But still just being able to have that sanctuary, where your family is just absolutely wonderful. What was the process? Like, walk me through the process. So your great grandparents purchased this land, and then your grandfather also stewarded the land, also known as Watermelon Man, correct?
Yes, right. That's right.
And then from there, was it idle? Were other family members tending to it, or what was it sitting there? Like how did it get into the 7 acres specifically get into land into your lap, so to speak?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't know how far back I want to go. I say my fifth great grandfather. Of course, one thing about being from a small town, my ancestors have been here forever. I have indigenous ancestors. I have ancestors who were enslaved peoples. But I've been able to do my lineage and do my genealogy and just see that, like, man, people have been in Bertie County forever. Mom's side and dad's side, we've been here. So I can't even say how many generations of farming I've been involved in because it's just always been a part of our culture. But my great grandfather, Joseph Cherry, he purchased it and he purchased it, I believe, 2 acres by 2 acres by 2 acres. And like I said, in the 1950s, he was able to actually barter for his land. I spoke to my uncle about this in detail because he was a little boy. He remembers that he got his land for a little bit of cash, but also for timber in the winter and produce during the summer. So he was able to, that was a great deal. That was a great deal. So that's how he was able to incorporate the land. And then each year it would increase by, 2 acres. And then, as he passed, it was around 7 acres, about 2 acres wooded, about 2 acres of garden space, and two home lots as well. So he was a watermelon man. He did row crops, cotton, soybean, whatever was in rotation, and he had hogs. So I can remember the little hogs getting out the cage, and we having to run behind them with sticks trying to get our baby hogs in. But yes, very very much country life. So when my grandfather passed, I was 12, and I just realized that, the fresh collard greens and all the watermelons, wasn't coming out. And I was like a 12-year-old looking at all my uncles, all my cousins, like, well, who's gonna get back out on the land? Like, I will help y'all. Like, who's gonna do it? Because I want some fresh sweet potato pie and I want this and that. They was like, little girl, sit down. You don't know nothing about what it takes to be a farmer and how hard it is. I was like, when I get older, I'll show y'all. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. So that's kind of where we ended up. It just sat idle. We didn't lease it out to anybody. We didn't do anything but cut the grass like twice a year. And we even stopped, when the matriarch passes on, that's just kind of a big, that's what always brought us back to the land. So when she passed on around 2017, we would at least have holidays there and Sunday dinners there and things. But when she passed on, it's like we stopped going on the land completely. So it sat vacant, sat idle for about 20 years. And then uh, let's see, maybe around 2022, 2023, I moved to Virginia to be really intentional about learning how to care for the land, learn about market gardening, how can we actually make money, how can we actually, like be beneficial to the community as well. So that's how it got back in my hands. I went through a fellowship and then I went through a incubator farm and many conferences later, many note taking and mentors later, like here I am, finally breaking down on the family land, getting it back going.
And the ancestors are rejoicing
Yes.
and they are on the land with you. And That is such a beautiful, I'm sure it's such a beautiful feeling. Salute
Yeah.
to you. Oh my goodness. That's awesome. And with the conferences and stuff, I mean, we were chatting before we started the interview. I mean, you've had the opportunity to connect with some of the farmers and growers that I know, we both know mutually, here in the mid-Atlantic. So I'd love to see all the connections that are made in this space. So though we might be in our own little corners or own little plots, I just love the opportunities at these conferences that they bring people together. So just awesome. We named some really great folks. But thank you for breaking that down. Can you describe? Okay, so is it Islander? Islander, forgive me, y'all. North
It's
Carolina. You
okay.
say
All
it so
landers.
beautifully.
My little country corner of the world, all Lander, North Carolina.
Umi, I have to be, I've never heard of
Yeah,
it. I'm
I
sure
know.
I've been in a town comparable. My mother is from Butler, Alabama. You blink, you miss it. So I have
Mhm.
a fascination and appreciation for small towns, but like give us a little bit of the landscape and even as it relates to food security or food insecurity, because you are, stewarding this land, but also with the mission in mind too.
Mhm. Yes, for sure. Orlando is very much a food desert. We're one of those towns where you got your one family dollar and you got your little gas station, and fresh food is definitely more than 2 miles away, more like 20 miles away from a grocery store. So we're surrounded by a lot of farms, but not many farmers that look like you and me. But yes, Orlando is just a small town. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody's probably your cousin once removed. It's just that kind of place for sure.
I want to visit. I don't care how small it is. I want to come visit. I know that you have your kids involved in the on the land, from what I can see. And
Mhm.
that just brings me so much excitement because there's nothing like seeing a child, do the things that mom, dad, grandma, granddad does on the land and just being raised on rich soil. And so I just love to see that. And I heard that there's a no screens rule on the farm, Umi.
That's the truth. That's the
What I
truth.
heard. So that learning environment, you can't have a phone, an iPad, you got your hands in dirt. How are your kids engaging with the land and what are they beginning to understand about food and nature and community through this experience? And it's interesting actually even asking this question because I was so, pulled to the story that you shared and that beautiful photo of you sitting next to your grandfather just brought so much joy. And so now just seeing your kids and being on the land, it's just making that comparison. But what are they beginning to understand?
Yes, I've always found it interesting since I feel like when my son was young and I started really getting into all these ag spaces that I had some friends who were in this space and they would say, hey, if the kids grow tomatoes, they'll eat tomatoes. If your kids grow kale, they'll eat kale. And I just always kept that in the back of my mind because that makes sense. I'm sitting back looking at these, 5, 8 year olds just picking up out the garden and just chowing down on a cherry tomato or eggplant or whatever. So I always took that to heart. So when I had my twins in 2020, I was very intentional, during that time of lockdown and everything. Like, you can't go anywhere. That's when we got outside in our backyard and started gardening because but what they're learning is everything from picking out the seed pack to planting the seeds, watching it grow. Uh, they're experiencing the losses of, oh, this pest is eating up our stuff. Like, they're learning about neem oil. They're learning everything, but they're with me every step of the way. My son is 8, and my twin girls are 5, and they're the farm team. Us, them three, and me. We the team. Okay, we decided what we want to grow. My son wants to grow watermelons, so he'll have his sugar babies, so he can at least carry those back and forth, not too big, till he's ready for the big Jubilee melons. But yeah, they're learning. I feel like peace and calm and patience on the farm, primarily because you don't plant a seed and get that fruit the next day. And I I definitely believe that it reduces your cortisol just being out in the land, hands in the dirt. Like it's literally therapy. And yeah, it's just powerful for me to see that them. And I'm also a homeschool mom, so we may do our lessons for about 2 hours, then we go outside and we do some real life learning. So I just really admire the childhood that they have, and I always aim to say like, hey, me when I was growing up, we didn't have no screens. We just had to go outside and figure something out. Just collect all the rocks you can, and I don't know. You figure something out. I don't know. You come in when it get dark. So that's just kind of, and it just amazes me to see what they come up with out there, because they'll take like a pile of wood, and next thing I know, they done put together a seesaw. I was like, okay, engineering. All right. So we're not learning only agriculture, but we're learning like communication skills. We're learning coping mechanisms and things like that. Where my son is building bird houses. He's building raised beds. He got him a little kid sized drill, and he be doing the thing. So they amaze me every day with what they have going on. They just shock me with what they can do when they have the tools, they have the time, and you just, give them that freedom. And my daughters, we pick out what flowers we like to grow, and um, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful, and they're so young, so I'm excited to see where it could go. But I feel like building that passion and excitement at a young age is the best way that I can, try to mold them and show them like, hey, this could be a career. This is a positive thing, because I don't want, when my tenure is over, I don't want the same thing to happen. None of the children are interested and want to be involved. So I'm doing all I can to kind of nurture that interest that they have while they're young, and hopefully it sticks.
That is the hope, right? Like,
Hmm.
don't y'all want to become farmers and tend
It's the
our
best thing.
land? You
Yeah.
so many great nuggets. And what came to mind is just giving them that freedom, like being outdoors. And there's something about constraint, right? Which is actually kind of sad in the context that I'm bringing this up. When you remove things, right? iPads and phones and pieces of technology and all the digital things, that's great too, right? But when you remove that and you are in a different in an environment that forces you to be creative and to think outside the box and to engineer, like some seesaw, or what your son had made, like it is just truly amazing. And I remember growing up, I had dirt under my fingernails, my toenails. I mean, I was plastered in dirt, sliding down the hill with no snow. We made sleds, and during it wasn't even snowing. And so I you named just so many things. And so when we're talking about like the outdoors being a natural like teacher in classroom, like engineering and science, and it's all that is so important to call out, because that's what we were doing ages ago.
Hmm.
So that I think that's just super beautiful. What have been, and speaking of learning and lessons, what has been like the hardest lesson to learn as you decided to say, "Hey, I'm going to reclaim this ancestral land and steward it," and you did this fellowship. But what has been like some of the hardest lessons that you've had to grapple with in stewarding family land?
Yes, I think the hardest thing, and I would say even harder than the initial getting everybody on board. Like I said, nobody really paid me any mind for maybe about 3-4 years, and it's just like, just get to a point where I just have to show you, like, people, nobody, there's no dispute over the land, like it's just vacant. But it's just like, hey, I want to do this. We at Thanksgiving dinner, I want to talk to y'all after dinner. Everybody like, yeah, 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 sure, whatever. And it's like, okay, so I feel like the hardest thing is me recognizing that this is a big undertaking, and I have to, take it on amongst myself. Now, some people may help, they may decide when they're ready to come on board, but primarily, especially as a single woman, taking on a farm project by myself, it's like, okay, you doing it by yourself. Like I said, I got my team, my three little ones. So it is a big undertaking, but I do my best to, set goals. Like if I can get things done quarterly, I'll look up in a couple years and I'll be where I'd like to go. But that's the hardest thing, just realizing like, hey, as much cousins that I have who are like, like big, strong men, you know, they're like, hey, yeah, we came out here, we could have got this done in like 2 hours, but you know what I mean? That's not always the case. But I do recognize the more that I do, the more I feel like people are interested to get involved. So eventually, I guess, essentially, I have to just be that example. And like I told you, when I did start connecting photos and uh, finding things on the land, like we're uncovering a story because as we tilled the land and turned the land over, we were coming up with many treasures, like a baseball out there on the field. We even had an old glass oil sheen bottle. I was like, okay, this is black land for sure. So it's things like that that get people more interested. And my great grandmother, Maddie Cherry, her would have been 100th birthday is coming up this October. So we're gonna get family on the land for that. And of course, when it comes to things like that, tugging heartstrings and things like that that get people more involved. So I'm pretty sure that I will have more help as time goes on. So I'm not worried about it. But I'm completely happy out there with my three kiddos. We make it happen.
That is so awesome. And to be out there and just magically coming across stumbling upon artifacts, and you just get to add to this very rich context of your history. And listen, if that's a way for people to be brought in and woo them in, I think that's incredible. Listen, you somebody tell me they found an old bottle of oil sheen on the land, I'm getting excited about it. Okay. Anything that can have me at arm's length to my history, the people who came before me, like it really just is a beautiful thing. And heard on all aspects of, oh, we might help, or not getting the help that you need right now, but I'm sure emotionally they do support you. But that's real. But it's like Bianca's cool kid on the block now. She on the farm. Y'all better get out there now. She's doing it.
Yeah. And I guarantee you, when those sweet potatoes and collard greens are ready, oh, they're gonna be there that day. I'm like, okay,
Hey, listen, black people don't play about the food. So
uh-uh.
what have been some of the things that you've grown on your land thus far? Like what's been working? What have you been experimenting with? Or like is there a specialty crop that's like staple, something that you're definitely gonna run with, for each season?
Yes, for sure. I'm gonna be primarily a medicinal herb farmer and cut flower farmer. I have so many wonderful farm friends who grow all the produce, and I just wanted to do something different. And I also want to bring beauty and vitality. So, yes, I want to grow flowers, bring breeding to your home. I want to um, give people exposure to different herbs that you can use to prevent chronic disease, and again, with the cortisol levels, reduce stress. I like to do mindfulness events so we can do yoga out on the farm and meditation sound bowls and things like that to get people nice and calm and grounded and present on the land. But this will be my first, 2026 will be my first season on this property. So, in the past, backyard gardens, I've done a Hosky community garden. I focus primarily on those more common vegetables like tomatoes and broccoli, because I'm doing workshops and I'm trying to show people in the community, hey, it's easy to grow your own tomatoes. It's easy to grow your own spinach. But when I get on my own I'm on my own property and at the Cedar Light Farm, we're gonna specialize in medicinal herbs. I have just ordered a nice little apothecary shed so we can do some educational workshops there. And Yes, it's gonna be medicinal herbs and cut flowers, and I also will have a couple of plots that are meant for a watermelon plot, of course, for my son, and then I will have another plot where I do have found a couple cousins who want to grow some traditional row crop. You know what I mean? And I'll also be working with four other Black women who will be helping me with the medicinal herbs and flowers because, of course, I can't do it all on my own and being intentional about working with other Black women who need access to land. So I'm like, hey, I've got this land, but I don't have all the help. So anybody else who's looking for land, wanting to grow, Eastern North Carolina is always blessed to link up with four more Black women. We're going to be doing some natural fibers. We're going to get some chickens and rabbits out there. So I'll definitely have to come back once we get this first season going. But it's been a lot of, land prep and then infrastructure, and it's like getting the deer fence up so they don't eat it all up as soon as I put it out. So yeah, definitely stay tuned, but that's the plan for now.
I mean, that's an agenda, Umi. That is an agenda, and I love to hear it. And what makes, not to brag too much on edible activists, but I'm always going to brag on edible activists. But what makes the conversation so special are guests like you, but to talk to you when you are in a certain phase of, of your growing journey and to see like how far it goes. So I say that and that I'm excited about, what's to come in 2026 and part 2 and part 3 and part 4 y'all with
Mhm.
Umi. So that's just super exciting to hear all the things to come. Um Umi, you're currently fundraising. We're raising some funds to help with some infrastructure and to get some other things started on the farm.
For sure, for sure. It definitely takes money to get started, okay?
It do. Take money to a lot of things.
Yes, yes. So we definitely have some infrastructure needs. Like I said, primarily a deer fence and kind of a tarping so that weed pressure isn't a big deal. But I want to do biodegradable geotextile fabric. So these are things that I'm invested in myself. And I've done a little investing. Then I got to the point where I was like, okay, maybe I can get a little help here. You know what I mean? We'll see. But I am looking to raise $3,000 so I can complete that deer fence and, do some coverage for that weed pressure. And you can find that it's linked in my Instagram. My Instagram is at holistic.umi, UMII. So you can find it there, link in bio, a nice Facebook fundraiser, $5, anything, or even just a share is a great help. But yes, I'm getting to a point where I've got some help, family a little bit, but I've got some really good friends who are out there with me every other Thursday. We're getting it done. So yeah, the funds could definitely help. If I could have that fence up by early spring, that would be great. We don't have to worry about our harvest getting eaten up because we are in the middle of nowhere. Those deer, they out there.
That deer fencing is important as a non-farmer to some, maybe an honorary farmer grower. I have helped just a little bit with volunteering, putting some deer fence down, and it is essential. And
Mhm.
deer have no, they have no grace
At all.
for your crops at all. They don't care. They're gonna eat them
Mhm.
all. So if you are listening and have the opportunity and room to support, please donate to the Seed of Life Farms fundraiser because we know that costs are high. And infrastructure is so important, to stewarding land. So definitely we will continue to push that. Um, I am also interested. I know you had talked about like just some amazing group of Black women who you're connecting with, and you guys are going to do some things together and build together. Are there any other like legacy farmers or anyone else like in your lineage or just in your immediate circle who you've been drawing inspiration from as you've been on this farming journey?
Yes, for sure. Deron Chavis is a great mentor of mine with Happily Natural and Sankofa Orchard in Richmond, Virginia. I actually moved to Virginia so I could study under him because it's important to me to learn this work, but also from people who have people of color in mind, and also people who don't play about food justice, who don't play about, our people. So really excited to work with Deron Chavis, and also Nita Mencia, who's she does a sunflower festival every year. I've worked with her the past couple of years. She's to have a mentor who'll just answer a couple questions is one thing. To have a mentor who'll say, "Come out here," I'll tell you everything step by step. I mean, this is a seed I get. This is the tractor input that I use, and just like literally, like, "Hey, girl, look, when you plant yours, I'll come out and help you." So a good mentor is just like major, 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 especially as a Black woman in this space. So Miss Nita has been amazing, and like you said, going to conferences and building networks. I've met a lot of great Black women farmers. Like shout out to Ina and Ashe and Ty, who actively come and help me on the land. And when things get hard and I need a little pep talk, they right there. My sisters are with me. Like we gonna figure this thing out together. So yeah, those are just a couple of great mentors, great friendships who keep me going.
That mentorship is important. And listen, it's growing farming is not for the faint.
Mhm.
You know it better than me. So I'm so happy to hear that. And a network is super important. And I mean, I've learned obviously so much from you all being on this show, but just from others out there who have been doing this work, but also giving acknowledgement and honoring their ancestors, and taking on what was passed down to their lineage, and being able to transfer that knowledge and wisdom unto the land. So super important. So I love to hear that. Umi, when you dream about the future of the Seed of Life Farm, what do you imagine people will experience there? And we already talked about, like, in terms of how people can help you and the fundraiser. But just if there are any other areas of support, but like, what does that imagination look like when you're dreaming about the Seed of Life Farm?
Yes, I definitely want to embody the name, the seed of life being a symbol of creativity and rebirth and things like that. And I definitely see it as being a healing space and a focus of generational healing. I want you to be able to come onto the land and see the herbs growing, maybe cut the herbs yourself, make the tea right there. I just want it to be a nice healing space. It'll be very, very beautiful, very, very what do I want to say? A very beautiful space and a very peaceful space where we'll have different areas, art displays, and ornamental gardens that you can maybe go find a quiet moment to sit and read, or um, pick up some of the herbal books, or uh, just chat, just vibe. And I can also see it in the future having retreats there where women can come and be in community, or maybe we can have talks. Anybody suffering with, say, diabetes, come out. We're gonna talk. We're gonna do a farm to table meal. We're gonna put you on to all these herbs that could be helpful for you. We're gonna talk and just like be in community and be in support for each other. I just want it to be a space where it's not only a farm, but it's also a place of healing, and also showing you what to do with this produce. We're growing herbs, we're growing produce, but you got to know what to do with it when you get home. So make sure you know in all of the contradictions, or make sure you know in the doses, and that you have professionals that you would like to chat with as well if you're interested. But yes, generational healing. That's a space. It's meaningful to me because I've got ancestors for generations, blood, sweat, and tears right there on that land. So I'm gonna do my best to continue. That good feeling that I had when my great grandmother made a sweet potato pie. I want to make everybody else feel like that.
I feel it as you
Mhm.
talk. I feel it. I taste that pie too, Umi. I taste it. Oh, that's so heartwarming. Before we wrap up, what are some of your favorite medicinal herbs?
Ooh, we'll be here all day.
That's a loaded question.
Yes, we'll be here all day, but I've really been feeling lately the medicinals that are also flowers like your echinacea, your coneflower, um, goldenrod right now is coming up. But I'm really interested in native plants and things that the indigenous people used around here. So I also love my hibiscus, but let's just go with echinacea for now, and I'm making up goldenrod tincture, so that's on my heart. But um, but yes, I really love like your marigolds and things like that. I love the medicinals that are beautiful but also medicinal. So you just get so much from it. You can they can look cute on your table in a bouquet, and then when they dry, you can go straight for the tea or go straight for the tincture. So multi-purpose herbs.
I know that's right. They're also beautiful and medicinal.
Hmm.
I feel like echinacea is not talked about enough. I mean, I remember echinacea being my go-to when I wasn't feeling well. Like if I had
Hmm.
a cold or a cough, it felt like it was just one, uh, like I went to echinacea to build my immune system like up. And it just immediately worked, you know. And so for me, I'll say that for me. And so I'm happy that you said echinacea because we haven't talked about it too much here on the show. But thank you. I know that was a hard question, Umi.
Yes, yes. But that is a go-to. Like you say, you're not feeling well. That's always something I tell somebody. Just put in your yard. It's cute. And then if you happen to get a little sniffle, just go on and make you some tea. It's right there.
That is awesome. Umi, I appreciate you so much for taking the time to chat with me about the beginning, the starts of your, journey onto the land. We know that this has been a long journey for your lineage and just so grateful that you've been able to having the courage to step up and say, hey, like I'm gonna steward this land. I'm also going to share this land, for those who may want, land to be able to grow food and grow other things and don't have access to land. And so, just so much that I pulled from our conversation. I so look forward to a part 2 and 3 and reconnecting. I want to come to the small town in 2026. So if I'm invited, I would love to be there.
Yes, come check us out.
Tell the audience where they can find you on social, and again, just lifting up the support for your fundraising efforts too.
Yes, I appreciate it. But you can find me on Instagram at holistic.umi, holistic.umii. And you can find me on Facebook at Bianca Umi Anthony. And you can visit our website at www.theseedoflifefarm.com. So, yeah,
Awesome. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and peace.
peace, peace.
Thank you for listening to Edible Activists. You can find today's episode on Spotify, iTunes, and Simplecast, and follow along on all social media platforms at Edible Activists for updates. Want to support this platform? You can do so by purchasing our commerce or connecting with me about media partnerships at www.edibleactivist.com. In the words of Baba Tariq Adunu, there is no culture without agriculture. Peace.